Hello, welcome to Freedom from Fire. I'm Fire Commissioner Lloyd Ayers with the Philadelphia Fire Department. And here at Freedom from Fire, we bring on very interesting people so that we can interview them, find out how they participate in keeping you free from fire. So we want to say welcome and thank you for viewing and being a part of this great program. Right now, I'd like to talk about some very important things, and that is staying safe, and two, making sure that you take a pledge. The first thing I'd like to talk about is the seat of safety, staying safe. We have 4 different areas that we'd like you to think about when we talk about our seat of safety. First, smoke alarms, 1 on every level, and making sure that they work. And now, 10-year lithium battery powered smoke alarms are what the city of Philadelphia is going forward with. So you'll have to make sure that you have that exact type of smoke alarm to keep your family safe. That's the first leg of this stool. The second leg is, of course, making sure that you have a home escape plan, that you've set your family down, talk to them about 2 ways out of each and every room in your home. So that's a very important thing for you to do. So when you hear the smoke alarm, you know exactly what to do with your family. And third, that third leg of that stool is, of course, the home fire safety checklist. That home fire safety checklist is about 30 different items in 5 different areas where you can keep your family safe. So you want to make sure that you get that home fire safety checklist from our website, and you want to make sure that you go through that. It's a self-assessment. It's either yes or no. It's something that you have to do to remove hazards from your home, or it's something that you have to do to change your behavior so that you won't be the hazard yourself. And lastly, that pledge, the home fire safety pledge, making sure that you take the pledge, that everyone in your family takes that pledge so that you can be safe and you can rest assured and sit on the seat of safety. Today, we have some very interesting guests. We have an all-important fire safety representative who I'll be introducing later. But right now, we have none other than Deputy Chief Derrick Sawyer. He's new at fire prevention, but not really new at fire prevention. He served time with us, taking the leadership in fire prevention a little while ago. He went on to take on Homeland Security, but right now, he's back with us with fire prevention. And I'd like to say welcome to Deputy Chief Sawyer.
Thank you, Commissioner Ayers.
Well, I want to talk to me. Tell me a little bit about what your career has been and how you've helped us in fire prevention.
Well, I've had a very good and prosperous career when I think about it. Moving up through the ranks all the way from firefighter to Deputy Chief of Fire Prevention. The good part is I actually had the pleasure and honor of serving in fire prevention as a battalion chief. So that kind of laid the foundation and groundwork for me to take over fire prevention. And it was a seamless transition because of my experience as a battalion chief in fire prevention. So one of the things we're doing right now is working on making sure we keep the community safe. You know, a couple of community risk reduction projects, as you know, just to make sure that we can maintain our safety record. We're doing pretty good this year as far as our fire fatalities. We want to make sure we maintain that. And my goal is to make sure we have the record this year of the lowest fatalities in the history of the Philadelphia Fire Department.
Absolutely. 0 is our goal.
0 is the goal.
So that's enough pull. Keep people safe and make sure that folks don't have the fire in the first place.
Correct.
Now I heard you say something, community risk reduction.
That's right. Community risk reduction is the way to go, especially in this hard economic times. The citizens and government are looking for us to do more with less. So what community risk reduction does, it helps us, 1, identify the risk in our community. After we identify those risks, we have to prioritize the risks. What's the most important? And for us right now, the most important is that no one has to die in a fire. Now, once we identify and prioritize the risks, we have to develop our strategy and tactics, which you're well aware of. Is the same thing we do in fires. We develop strategy and tactics. So we want to do the same thing after we've identified and prioritize our risks. The next thing we want to do is plan on how we're going to mitigate those risks. Come together, put together a nice plan on how we're going to mitigate the risk. Once we do that, we got to implement the plan, of course, make sure things are working, and then we want to evaluate that plan along the way to make sure everything is working, make sure we actually reducing those risks and targeting the right people.
That's a great concept, that if you reduce the risk in your environment, then you have less opportunity.
That's right.
Fires, other things. Now,
hazards.
is that just about fire, or do we talk about other things when we talk about risk reduction?
Well, risk reduction covers a multitude of things. Like, for example, in the city of Philadelphia, our number one risk isn't really people dying from fire. Now, that's not concerning the fire service, but our number one risk is flooding in the city. Now, you know how it is when we get those storms and rain or large snowstorms and it melts.
Sure.
So when we've had to rescue people in floods. So if we really want to make sure our community is safe, in addition to fighting fires or preventing those fires before they occur, we can do things like address the flood risk. For example, we started a new program you're aware of, car seat safety.
Sure.
That's a risk. Children dying in car accidents. Automobile accidents are a great risk in our community.
Or even seriously injured.
Seriously injured, right?
Yes.
So risk not just from dying, but injuries. We want to reduce the injuries also.
Well, one of the areas that we talk about a lot is risk to our senior population.
Yes.
Now, I know that we've targeted our senior population, and we want to have risk reduction with them as well.
Yes.
You want to talk about a few of those things?
Absolutely. Well, as you know, nationally, risks are our older adults, 65 and older,
Sure.
and our children 5 and under. That's your national risk. Well, when I talked about identifying the risk for our community, the risk is our older adults 50 and over.
Mm-hmm.
We've done a good job with our children, and we don't have as many fatalities of our young children. So now we want to target our older adults to make sure that we can bring that risk down also and have less loss of life and injury. So one of the things we've done is we've secured a grant through FEMA, and we actually have a program where we're going to be targeting our older adults, 50 and over, and not only target them by providing them smoke alarms, but fire safety education information, the home escape plan that you talked about, and we even developed a senior fire safety cube to help educate them so that as they go on and they forget some of the things that we taught them while we visit their homes and installed the smoke alarms, they can look at that cube and have as a reminder of the fire safety tips they want to remember.
Yeah, the cube reminds them of what they should be thinking about when they're cooking.
Right.
Making sure that there's not loose rugs on the
Right.
stairs, on the floors,
Correct.
things like that.
Right.
Very important for our seniors. Many seniors here in the city of Philadelphia and their families have made choices to live in their homes as long as they can take care of themselves. So it's a very valuable tool. And going out to visit those homes is just as important.
Yeah, we found that when you make home visits, that's one of the key things with our risk reduction practices. So, of course, we're going to install smoke alarms to make sure they're safe. But doing home visits allows you to identify quickly some of the risks that you may see while you're installing those smoke alarms, and we can give them fire safety tips on how to mitigate those risks. And a lot of times it's just a matter of knowing, and if they don't know what the risks are, they're not going to do anything about them. But while we're there and identify those risks, tell them the tips and things they need to do to mitigate those risks, is going to help them be safe and help us with our goal of
Absolutely.
0 fire fatalities.
Well, we're starting to move into the fall months. Summer's ending, and we're going to be moving into the cooler nights and things like that. And it's heating season.
Yes, it is.
And one of the things I wanted to talk about is the importance of making sure that your central heating plant has been serviced properly. You have someone that's come in and checked it. The flue is clean. The burners are proper.
You're very correct. One of the things we like to stress as far as heaters go is make sure you have a professional look at them. A lot of times we have our people that think they are jack of all trades and do things and they don't do it right. So if you have a professional come in, we'll know that your heater is safe. Not only checking the heater as far as the flue and things like that, just not putting anything around your heater, making sure there's 3 feet where you store your materials in your basement.
Absolutely.
So just having enough space around your heater, make sure it's clean, safe, the gas company can come out, make sure things are all right. Also, If you decide to supplement your heat, you want to make sure that you use the proper space heaters, UL approved space heaters, and those also need space. Space heaters need space 3 feet, and to make sure you practice unplugging your space heater when you're not going to be home. If you're using the kerosene heater, make sure you crack the window to have that ventilation. And then remember that you're a combustible also. Not only do you want to keep your combustibles away from space heaters, our older adults tend to sit closer to those space heaters because they're always cold. So what happens is your clothes can catch on fire also. So we want them to remember not only to keep combustibles away from space heaters, but also make sure they maintain space themselves.
Something important that you said, supplemental heaters.
Yes.
Now, we want to make sure that the main heating plant is serviced and operating properly. Supplemental heat, when we start talking about that, there's a room where you get that little draft or whatever the case may be. Maybe it's because the windows may need caulking or something like that. But we find that people do supplement those their central heating system. And when you do that, that's when all of these other tips that you just laid out come into play. Whether it's electric or kerosene, you have to be very careful.
Have to be very careful.
Yeah, so when we start into the season, we want to make sure that we concentrate on a central heating plant. The kerosene heaters were not meant to be your main heating source.
Not at all.
The electric heaters, not your main heating source. When you do that, you put your family, yourself at a higher level of risk, and that's what we want to get rid of.
Right.
Now, with the community risk reduction, we stop to think about our firefighters, who we are, what we do. As firefighters, we're fighting fires less, which is a good thing. So we want to become community risk reduction managers. So we want to manage the risk in the community.
Correct.
That's pretty new to the firefighters as well as the community.
It is. It's new in context, but it's not new in what we do. As you're aware, being a firefighter yourself, when people come to the fire station for help, we always are willing to help. Whether it be my son has a flat tire or whatever the need in the community is. So being a community risk manager is really putting a name on some of the things that you already do. If you know Mrs. Johnson is an older adult that lives by herself, we as firefighters go check on her, make sure she's all right, make sure her heating system is working, make sure her utilities are okay, make sure she has a working smoke alarm. When she needs that smoke alarm battery changed, make sure we're there to change it for her. Make sure after 10 years she has a new smoke alarm. So identifying those risks in your community or those people that are at risk, being a community risk manager allows us to address those needs within our community, not only our community, but our fire safety and education district. Because each fire safety and education district may have different risks.
Exactly. So that fire safety and education district commander, that captain, he or she may have different risk in the community that they have to manage. And what they do, they should draw the program up, make sure that they focus in on what those risks are so we can take the risk out of the community. And hopefully we won't have to respond to a fire at that location.
Exactly. We won't have to respond to a fire. It could be falls for our older adults. We don't have to keep sending our EMS resources to respond to falls. So whatever the risk may be, we want to be able to address that and help our community be safe.
Yeah, so it's a pretty tall call when you stop and you think of this large geographic area, but we always do it in bite-sized pieces,
That's right. That's right.
Like eating the elephant.
That's right.
One block at a time, one census tract at a time, one community at a time. And we have a lot of help out there too, which is something that I want to talk about. The fire safety representative, they're our partners out there, so we want to make sure that we continue to engage the fire safety representatives, engage the firefighters, and of course all of the other help that we get from the community.
Correct. One of the things about community risk reduction is building community partnerships. And one of the ways you do that is through our fire safety representative program, because what they do is they help us reach that hard to reach target audience. So by having a fire safety representative, if you have someone that's kind of sheltered in or sick and shut in, they have access to them to help give them the safety materials that they need. Another thing that's good about the community risk reduction piece with the community partners is helping us, we can identify community partners to address our risk need, whether it be Lowe's, Home Depot. They have programs where they're willing to donate smoke alarms or CO alarms so that we can help reduce some of those risks.
Well, that's great. And, the things that you've done since you've been back, we're happy. We're happy about everything that you've put on the table as far as creating the programs and the vision. So I just wanted to say thank you. The Philadelphia Fire Department thanks you as well. And I'm certain that the community feels all of those programs that you've been able to implement. So Deputy Chief Sawyer, thank you and welcome to Freedom from Fire.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Winston, just one more inning, Grandma.
Ever notice how many things today kids can do without actually moving? A whole lot of things their parents used to do the hard way. So many kids' activities today seem to leave out the activity part, which makes exercise even more important for children. In fact, new research tells us the best time to enhance bone development is during childhood and adolescence. And just getting children to walk an extra 35 minutes a day could spare them the pain of thinning bones later in life. Healthy bones come from healthy habits. Encourage your kids to get up, get out, and get moving.
Hello. Hey, Grandma, how about another grape soda?
A public service message on building strong bones for kids from the Pediatric Orthopedic Society of North America and the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons.
If you could see anything in the world, what would it be?
I'd love to see Paris.
I like to see cupcakes falling from the sky.
My daughter, married and happy.
I want to see things the way I used to.
Chances are, someone you love may one day be affected by macular degeneration or glaucoma. Log on to seeabettertomorrow.org or call 1-800-437-2423 to learn about glaucoma and macular degeneration. Call 1-800-437-2423 or log on to seeabettertomorrow.org.
I just want to see more of the things I love.
I'm Fire Commissioner Lloyd Ayers, and welcome back to Freedom from Fire. Now we're in for a real treat. With me, I have Miss Annette Bush. She is one of our fire safety representatives, one of those great people that we have throughout the city of Philadelphia that found it just something that they wanted to do, a passion to help the people in their community, to partner with the fire department and to do a great job. And right now, I'd like to say welcome to Freedom from Fire.
Thank you.
Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. I'm happy to do it.
Yes, and a marvelous volunteer. When I stop and I think about all of the things that you've done in the community, I only learned about it from you being a fire safety representative.
Yes.
But you're also part of another organization that's near and dear to my heart, the American Red Cross.
Yes.
So that's great. What made you become a fire safety representative?
Well, I have concerns regarding the neighborhood that I live in. I'm a senior citizen myself. Most of the people on the 5900 block of Cedar are seniors, And it's another opportunity for me to give back, to go out and support the fire department, to provide information, give out literature. Last month I coordinated with Lieutenant Perez and the local fire department in giving out the smoke detectors. And in our block we have a blind gentleman. Of course he doesn't get this information, so I made a point of contacting him and also letting the department know that he required some assistance. And he did need a new fire, a smoke alarm in his home. And I've just been volunteering since I was 20 years old, and it's just a part of who I am. And the need is there. You know, the more information we have, the safer we are.
That is fantastic. Just hearing the story about having a conversation with one of your neighbors who's blind. Again, they normally wouldn't get that information. When you knock on the door and you introduce yourself, they know who you are,
Yes.
welcome you into their home, and they get the services that they need.
Yes.
Very important.
Yes.
And then the partnership with the fire department, and I know that house around there very well because that's my alma mater.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a part of Engine 68, correct?
Oh, all right.
Yes, and when we were there, we didn't have as much outreach, but we did have some outreach. But now, just the outreach is great, and the partnership with the community is fantastic.
Exactly.
And we can't see, we don't know what each and every block is like. I do know the 5900 block of Cedar because, for one, I know that it's a nice neighborhood. People keep their homes up, they keep their fronts nice, they sweep the pavements and things like that. It's just a great thing.
Yeah.
Now, a fire safety representative working with a block captain, how's that work?
Well, we actually don't have a block captain. I'm like the unofficial block captain. 90% of the people come to me for assistance with their questions or concerns, or I also have a ministry at the local church, so I give the same kind of information to my church members as I'm giving to my neighbors and also the children, because I was a tutor for 10 years at Bryan Elementary School.
Oh, fantastic.
And whenever you had Fire Safety Month, we did something with the children and also inquired about whether or not they had fire plans in their homes. And I found that 8 out of 10 of my students that I would tutor during the day did have a plan. And they knew what the plan was. They knew how to get out of their home. They knew who to call. And so as progress takes place and things change, you know, even with the fire department and the various programs that you have, I make it a point to keep myself abreast, and then I share that information with my neighbors, my friends, my family.
And that is exactly how the program should work. You're a model citizen for us, and we absolutely appreciate the work that you do. One last question. How does it make you feel after you've had an opportunity to put all of these resources together and one of your neighbors, one of your neighbors are much safer?
Much safer, and in fact, we did have an incident where a car fire was taking place in front of my door right after I became an FSR. And they were out there screaming and yelling and pouring water with bottles and buckets, and I ran in and got a fire extinguisher from my home, took it out and gave it to them. Saved them some money, saved the fire department a trip, and everybody was happy. They came back the next day, replaced my fire extinguisher.
Well, thank you so much. And there you have it. You've just met Miss Annette Bush, a fire safety representative from the 5900 block of Cedar in West Philadelphia, and one of our fine citizens. We really appreciate it. And right now, I would like for you to help me help the city of Philadelphia understand the importance of taking the action step. And that is taking the pledge.
Of course.
And right now, I'm going to raise my right hand, and if you would do the same, and if our audience, if all of you watching would do the same thing, just listen to what I'm saying and understand how important it is. Take the home fire safety pledge. I love my family, and I am responsible for their safety. Therefore, I pledge to have at least one working smoke alarm on each level of my home. I pledge to test the battery once each week and replace it or the smoke alarm as needed. I pledge that every family member will sleep with their bedroom door closed. I pledge to develop and practice a home escape plan. I pledge that if I cannot afford smoke alarms, I will contact the smoke alarm hotline by calling 311. All this I solemnly pledge. Thank you so much, Annette. Thank you for coming on to the show. And again, making sure that here in the city of Philadelphia, we can have freedom from fire.
Absolutely.